I declare that the 532nd Convocation of McMaster University for the conferring of degrees is now in session.
Please be seated. Good afternoon. I am David Wilkinson, Provost and Vice President Academic of the University. This afternoon I have the great pleasure of acting as your Master of Ceremonies for this Convocation ceremony and of welcoming you all to this event. Before we start our formal program, may I first ask everyone in the hall to switch off any electronic device that may ring or beep during the ceremony. I would now like to call upon our Chancellor, Dr. Suzanne Labarge, to make her own welcoming remarks.
Welcome, honored guests, staff, faculty, families, friends, and most importantly, graduands. This is an exciting day for all of you who are graduating today, as well as for all those people who have supported you and stood behind you, and in many cases have had a key role in your being here today. You have achieved a great deal to get here, and you should all be very proud of your success and looking forward to what the future might bring. Congratulations, and enjoy the ceremony.
I would now like to introduce Dr. Patrick Dean, President and Vice Chancellor, who will be presenting the honorary degree recipient.
Madam Chancellor, by the authority of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honor to present Bruce Archibald. Bruce Archibald is a distinguished public servant who has helped guide 3 different Province of Ontario ministries as the most senior member of the staff team. In many ways, his accomplishments fall under the heading of excelling in the family business, as he is a 2nd-generation public servant and a 3rd-generation graduate of the University of Guelph, where he earned degrees in agriculture, physiology, biochemistry, and environmental toxicology before entering Ontario's public service. Dr. Archibald's career with our provincial government progressed quickly. He was the manager of environmental and plant health programs for the Agricultural and Food Laboratory Services branch of the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. Then the acting director of the Horticultural Research Institute of Ontario for the same ministry. He served in 2 more progressively senior roles with the ministry before going back to his alma mater as an associate professor of environmental biology and director of the Laboratory Services Division at the University of Guelph. When Dr. Archibald returned to working with the province after his time in academia, it was as Assistant Deputy Minister of the Science and Technology Division for the Ontario Ministry of Energy, Science and Technology. After proving himself there, he shifted to the Ministry of Agriculture and Food, where he was Assistant Deputy Minister of the Policy and Farm Finance Division. His final ADM posting was with the research section of Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, this time with the Government of Canada. In 2005, Dr. Archibald came back home to the province of Ontario to serve the first of 3 deputy minister appointments. He has been Ontario's Deputy Minister for the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, for the Ministry of International Trade and Investment, and for the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade. He then put his combination of federal and provincial experience to work as the first president of FedDev Ontario, the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario, an organization with the mandate to work with Southern Ontario's communities, businesses, and not-for-profits to address regional and global economic challenges. Dr. Archibald currently serves as the President of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, the CFIA. He is also the Deputy Minister Champion of the Science and Technology Community, Deputy Minister Champion for McMaster University, and Chair of the Deputy Minister Committee on Science and Technology. Deputy Minister Champions, or DMCs, are responsible for building connections between the public service and various sectors and institutions in order to identify shared priorities, align and promote relevant research, and build awareness of career opportunities. And in his 3 years as McMaster's DMC, Dr. Archibald has excelled in promoting and advocating for McMaster with decision makers in Ottawa. In 2012, Dr. Archibald received the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal for public service to Canadians. He is also the recipient of the Biotechnology Initiative Public Service Award. Bruce Archibald has built a diverse and influential career in public service, both provincially and federally. He has also provided exceptional support to McMaster University and leadership in making our governments more accessible to the priorities of universities and the science community. Madam Chancellor, I present Dr. Archibald to you so that you may recognize his work and achievements by conferring upon him the degree Doctor of Science, honoris causa.
Bruce Archibald, by the authority of McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa, in McMaster University, with all the rights and privileges pertaining to that degree. Congratulations. And we've got, you sign here, please. And I would now like to invite Dr. Archibald to deliver the Convocation address.
Chancellor Labarge, President and Vice Chancellor Dean, members of faculty, ladies and gentlemen, fellow graduates, autres diplômes, bonjour à toutes et tous. Quelle journée spéciale. What a special day. As a person who has spent most of his career working in public service, I've never sought or expected public recognition or reward for the very gratifying work I get to do every single day. It is for this reason that I am especially humbled and honored by this special recognition which McMaster University has bestowed on me today. C'est un véritable homme de l'Université McMaster m'en donne et je suis vraiment reconnaissant. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. As a young boy growing up in the Niagara Peninsula in a little village of Vineland Station, only a few kilometers to the east of us here today, I never dreamed of all the opportunities that I would be given in my life. Mais Canada est un pays de possibilités infinies, where her young and not so young graduates have unlimited possibilities. So to my fellow graduates, congratulations, félicitations, and get ready for the exciting journey that lies ahead. And while today is a day for celebration and looking forward, it's also been my experience that at certain milestones in one's life, such as a graduation, it is important to not only dream about what the future might hold, but to recognize the importance of the foundations that actually helped us arrive here today. The 12th century scholar, Bernard of Chartres, is quoted as saying, "We stand on the shoulders of giants." In a modern context, I believe that to mean that we can see clearer and farther than our predecessors, not because we have a keener vision or greater height, but because we are lifted up and borne aloft by their gigantic stature. I want to acknowledge some of those giants who helped us to obtain the success of this day. The giants who are the foundation from which we all build upon. The first is our parents, grandparents, guardians, some of which are here today to help us celebrate. They cared for us, they nurtured us, they supported us, they encouraged us, they dusted us off when we fell and reminded us that it's through persistence and hard work that we often obtain our greatest successes and our greatest joys. Today, I want to recognize one of my own personal giants, my mother, who along with my late father raised 5 children and taught us all the value and importance of education. For many years, once a week, my mother would walk this unruly clan of ragamuffins 5 kilometers uphill each way to the Rittenhouse Public Library, where we were each allowed to sign out 1 book. And then every evening at the appointed bedtime, Mom would read to us, or as we learned, we would read to her from our newest treasure. This ritual provided me with a profound interest in books and learning, in being curious and asking why, and more importantly, why not. It gave me a greater awareness of the world outside my bedroom window, and I'm delighted that she is here today, 86 years young, along with her husband, Bodo Becker, my beautiful wife, Karen, daughter, Melanie, and several of my close friends to help me celebrate this event. Thank you, Mom. Stand up. We are also here today because of the giants that understood the importance of higher learning in the city of Hamilton for our country and for the world. McMaster University is a public research university that was founded in 1887 through funds bequeathed by Canadian Senator William McMaster. And from very humble beginnings, it has grown to be consistently ranked as one of the best teaching and research-intensive universities in Canada and indeed in the world. The successes and accomplishments of graduates from this institution are truly incredible. McMaster graduates have gone on to become Nobel laureates, presidents of universities, champions of business, astronauts, leading cancer researchers, Royal Society physicists, pioneers in problem-based learning, award-winning journalists, politicians, gold medal athletes, world-class researchers and educators. Too numerous to mention here by name today, they all have a common denominator. They all graduated from McMaster University, and now so have you. And their accomplishments and successes lift us all up, help us see further and clearer, and while daunting, it is comforting to know that you can proudly take your place on top of the shoulders of these giants and begin to make your own contributions to this impressive list. I have 2 final comments I would like to share with you this afternoon. The first is the importance of the friendships, relationships, and collegiality you have developed with fellow students and professors during your time here at McMaster. Many of you will be taking on new roles or pursuing further education in different regions of Canada or perhaps other parts of the world. But I've learned that it is indeed a very, very small world. Your degree has made you well-rounded, and our lives move forward in a circular way. And what you will discover is that your classmates, professors, and colleagues will intersect with you in the course of your career. And that connection that you have made here at McMaster will form that common base and will support and aid you over and over and over again. They add to the foundation of your success for the future. My final thought is to ask you to be bold. You have been given this incredible gift of education and knowledge. You have the support and the foundation of your family, the university, your friends, and colleagues. If there was ever a time in your life to be bold and to take risks, to make statements, to make a difference, it is now. When we take risks, we learn that there will be times when we succeed and there's going to be times when we are going to fail. Both are equally important. But in the words of Sir Winston Churchill, success is not final, failure is not fatal, it is the courage to continue that counts. So in closing, fellow graduates, congratulations, well done, and remember, We are here today standing on the shoulders of giants, and the view is outstanding. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Archibald, for your very thoughtful comments. I think it's a very good reminder of just how many people we rely upon to get to where we are. And I'd just like to add that McMaster has relied enormously on Dr. Archibald, and we're very delighted to have been able to grant him the honorary degree and to tie him just a little bit closer to McMaster. Thank you.
Dr. Patrick Dean will now come forward to present the graduands to our Chancellor for admission to their degrees.
Will the graduands please stand? Madam Chancellor, on behalf of McMaster University Senate, I present to you these candidates in order that you may confer the appropriate degrees upon them, and I bear witness that they are worthy and suitable. May I also request that you confer the appropriate degrees in absentia upon all those candidates who have successfully completed the required course of study, but who are not present.
Graduands, by my authority and that of the McMaster University Senate, I have the great pleasure to admit those before me today and those in absentia to their individual degrees in McMaster University with all of the rights and privileges pertaining to those degrees. My sincere congratulations to all of you. Please be seated.
Graduates, I now ask each of you to join me on stage so that the Chancellor and I may welcome you to the McMaster community of scholars.
Ladies and gentlemen, so that each graduate's name may be heard, it would be appreciated if you if during the presentation of the graduands you would hold your collective applause to the end of each degree category. Thank you. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Doctor of Philosophy. Megan Jane McFadden. Anne-Marie Elizabeth Smith. Svetlana Kostina. Vinod Rajendra. Tara Lee Spencer Noakes. Jonathan Franz Eric Stolle. Travis J. Williams. Sepide Behinayan. Alia Hussein Elzibak. Andre Razvan Hanu. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Master of Science. Ketaragauri Jayakanthan. Gudmundur Freyr Adelsteinsen. Leila Morteza Beji. Padide Sarafras. Nihad Hermes. Kevin Alexander Sully. Akram Alias. Joycelyn Efua Ewusi. Tadeli Janet Kibret.
Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Science Honours. Yasmin Abdullah. Shahid Abraham Doman. Tamina Afzali. Sasha Amiri. Ahmed Amar Ahmed. Nea Ahmed. Fahan Ahtisam. Jean Rose Alavata. Matthew Joseph Alessi. Asma Ali. Mardin Ali. Maximilian Aman. Amrita Naresh Amanyani. Jenna Lee Ann Ansing. Jasmine Anthony Pillai. Lisa Antonishin. Ariane Archie. Manuel Arias Bojorges. Thilakshon Orul Naisun. Athi Arun. Teeb Asaf. Shana Crystal Odin. Nikita Autar. Nazina Awi. Sheridan James Cheston Baker. Kevin Ronald William Bale. Zinya Batliwala. Brittany Claire Beerwald. Caitlin Bayfus. Michael Birch. Nancy Birko. Rishi Tusha Bodalia. Dana Jocelyn Burling. Vanessa Elizabeth Bonomo. Adam Bornstein. Rachel Faye Bohus. Patrick Bojek. Nicole Bruni. Jason Francis Kaludukan. Jeffrey Chan. Alexandria Chen. Lauren Cherry. Su Young Cho. Harleen Shoker. Timothy Ernest Chung. Christopher Joseph Anthony Coloneri. Gillian Criminisi. Scott Culbert. Saskia Zita Nsa. Chinjiao Dai. Anoki Dalvi. Philip Gordon Daniel Evad. Kevin Dankua. Christine Daou. Azra Zahir Daya. Katie Dollywall. Robert Di Battista. Daniel DeLido. Lucas Bernard Dinado. Gregory Anthony Di Sanza. Tara Dickey. Hannah Diaz. Sarah Elizabeth Drowan. Fan Du. Sonia Shri Elango. Dylan Emin. Rachel Mary Deborah Immonts. Samantha Angela Ing Esteves. Sandra Evulian. Rahul Farma. Aqid Mohammed Fiaz. Braden Kenneth Fleming. Adam Robert Fontaine. Janelle Forbes. Nicole Forster. Teresa Louise Fougier. Stephanie Fung. Dmitry Davakishka Galapati. Anisha Garga. Sonia Guerra. Artin Gessemian. Ashley Gia. Emily Zhang. Karen Zhang. Alexi Giardino. Amanpreet Gill. Ethan Joseph Greenberg. Baljit Kaur Grewal. Sarah Marie Grunwald. Sylvia Gujewski. Kadrik Elroy Gunaratnam. Eugene Guo. Richard Akeem Hamilton. Michelle Hanna. Bushra Hawk. Taylor Patrick Hay. Eric McCleary Hempel. Kendra Hines. Teaching Ho. Peter Van Huang. Chi Kai Huang. Al-Zahra Hudani. Kathleen Ann Hudson. Tyler Hudson. Patricia Ann Hui. Michael Robert Humphrey. Angela Huin. Amna Haider. Jennifer Karen Highland. Sidra Iftikhar. Tanya Sheba Ince. Luke Yoniko. Dhruv Kumar Jain. Samantha Yaramio. Roma Ashraf Javed. Fatima Jessa. Maxim Zhitnikovich. Jasper Johar. Petar Jovanovic. Puneet Kalkat. Chloe Kavcic. Alexandra Kaylin Kaludjan. John James Carr. Najma Khalil. Navjot Kaur Kela. Hannah Kim. Jenny Kim. Anne-Marie Josefa Kosar. Erin Landau Krangle. Samantha Lee. Joanna Dorothy Leek. Anna Leblanc. So-Jung Lee. Robert Leon Tong. Spencer Laird. Ho Yan Leung. Jason Leung. Pak Kin Lee. Johnson Liang. Jessica Lim. Jay Lin. Elizabeth Lyubomirskaya. Savina Locke. Nicholas Glenn Loyson. Alena Lukic. Anna Lucic. Cindy Lee. Famia Mahmood. Ibrahim Malik. George Manasseh. Marion Doreen Mangunai. Sanit Man. Antonita Mariathas Anthony. Christopher Carlo Alfredo Mariella. Nadira Aisha Markar. Sanamdeep Kaur Matharu. Michael Joseph McCann. David McDonough. Dylan Niklaus McKellar. Justine Mello. Catherine Alessandra Mleguz. Monica Lynn Molinaro. Zara Monfaredi. Aaron Francis Morrow. Yi Mu. Alisa Muya. Ikra Nayem. Safa Nayel. Rima Nakrani. O Su Nam. Rodrigo Alberto Naro Perez. Nicholas James Nates. Paul Niago. Matthew Philip Neal. Christopher Sai Ho Ng. Kathy Nguyen. Stephanie Naronya. Stephanie Elsa Notenboom. Shelby Victoria Olesowski. Yasmin Mohammed Osman. Elena Rea U. Adam George Palios. Dinesh Parma. Amisha Patel. Archana Patel. Paris Patel. Sukethu Patel. Jason Pavayo. Miko Peng. Alicia Nicole Persoud. Savina Ria Persoud. Nancy Pham. Mark Phillips. Chantel Pimentel. Samantha Porco. Rashmi Jyoti Prakash. Theodora Prarasran. John Raji. Dani Yaspal Ram. Avinash Amit Ramkisoon. Aishwarya Rawat. John William Kenneth Rawlins. Madison Lynn Reed. Melanie Remy. Marie Elizabeth Richards. Ashlyn Rodriguez. Isabel Braganza Rodriguez. Samantha Ross. Christian Rito Rossati. Olivia Nicole Rotolo. Christopher Dennis Rowley. Piotr Rostotsky. Lisa Rustom. Mohammed Faseh Saif. Paige Salvatore. Bijan Sami. Manjot Sanila. Alia Satani. Kaviyanka Selva Sandran. Rohit Sharma. Theo Sherry. Manpreet Sian. Amanpreet Singh. Ashneet Singh. Chad Bharat Singh. Jasmine Singh. Lovepreet Kaur Singh. James Neil Ashdown Singleton. Piravina Shivapatham. Shivani Skandaraja. Martina Scott. Joanna Smitch. Cavell Smith. Stephen James Smith. Mira Sohail. Michael Sokolovsky. Sarah Solomon. Vaishnavi Somasundaram. Melanie Stacy. Ali Sayed. Maisa Sayed. Sophia Tang. Dylan Taylor. Sutherland Taylor. Mary Ellen Tedeschi. Vithea Thanabalan. Netusha Thevaranjan. Amandeep Thind. Frederick Toe. Stephanie Truelove. Alex Yan Luen Sai. Kelvin Sao. Uju Uba. Kayan Unwala. Savneet Singh Upal. Sarah Alexandra Urbanski. Nazarina Glinoga Valbuena. Yashoda Valier. Chelsea Ann Verbeek. Gurpreet Singh Virk. Neil Vora. Jessica Grace Wallace. Zan Wang. Jennifer Ruth Wells. Hong Ye Weng. Rebecca Wetzel. James Lyndon White. Jocelyn Carey Leanne Wilkins. Louise Wolfe. Julian Wong. Bai Han Wu. Jia Hang Wu. Wen Wan Yang. Yi Yang. Jessica Venjuye Yao. Chu Yang Yin. Alexander Young. Zhirong Yuan. Daniel Yusuf Zai. Fatima Zahir. Nicole Anna Zaidel. Janet Helene Zanin. Bo Wei Zheng. Ying Zhao. Ning Zong. Madam Chancellor, may I present to you the following graduates of the degree Bachelor of Science. Yama Adel. Siawash Ahmadi. Alexander Aplidiotis. Mohammed Arap. Tamana Baburi. Aldin Bahonic. Cynthia Bao. Joshua Daniel Benz. Sandra Beshara. Mohammed bin Aftab Syed. Timothy Clark. Kevin Michael Martins Craig. Mary Gilligan. Sharon Chu Mei Go. Jason John Harding. Li Xin He. Adina Akhtar Islam. Shavin Jayalathke. Ka Young Kim. Paul James Kurachik. Chi Kin Lau. Jasmine Lee. Di Chu Lee. Yudi Lee. Claire Teresa Lockhart. Michelle Louise Malandra. Sarah Z. Ning Man. Prima Modi. Rachel Monson. Hasib Nadvi. Thang Nguyen. Yatha D. U. Veronica Oshula. Vaishnavi Pathipan. Philip Edmund Perchak. Nicole Irene Finnemore. Nicholas Plagos. Ravi Kumar Rajasingham. Tanya Ramos. Jacqueline Marie Rotondi. Samantha Sebastiano. Yang Lei Song. Howard Chad Strapp. Danielle Victoria Tobias. Linda Tran. Vivek Vivekanathan. Josanne Rebecca White.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to introduce Ms. Monica Molinaro, a graduate of the Bachelor of Science Honors Program, who will be delivering the valedictory address.
Good afternoon, Chancellor, President Dean, Dean of Science, Dr. Baker, distinguished faculty, family, and friends. When I began writing this speech, I knew exactly what I didn't want to talk about. I didn't want to say any overly used cliches or dissect a quote by a departed literary marvel that describes their notion of life, because frankly, a university experience can never be characterized with something like that. All I could think about was, without either of these two factors, how much time it was going to take me to come up with something. And that's when it hit me, just time. There's roughly 500 students graduating here today, all from different programs, backgrounds, and goals. Yet one of the things that has been universally stressed upon in our university career is this notion of time. Whether we need to learn how to manage it better, waste it too much, or don't have enough of it. There are other four-letter words that have also come up frequently as well, but I will leave those to your imaginations. With this, I want to give you some numbers regarding our university education, and I apologize in advance to any math or physics majors who may be able to crunch the numbers better than I can. We have spent roughly 496 days, not including summer school, attending McMaster for classes and labs. Out of this, we've spent roughly 2,500 hours, or 104 full days sitting in class, 213 days in course-based labs or tutorials, and if you completed a thesis this year, roughly 496 hours working on that alone. You've also spent roughly 5 hours crying while working on Kappa for your first-year physics courses. At least 142 hours participating in extracurriculars, and at least a minimum of 2 hours just marveling over Beyoncé's new album this year. These numbers are important. All of these hours, minutes, and seconds not only contributed to you getting the degree you just walked across the stage for, but also to a degree much larger and greater than that. In the time you spent in class, doing homework, doing research, and studying, you also spent an equal amount of time learning about yourself and developing a skill set that was not only valuable to your university career, but can be used and revisited many times for the rest of your life. McMaster University is a globally recognized institution that prides itself on the quality of students that it produces. And additionally, so does its Faculty of Science. The amount of time you spent bettering yourself for now and the future is the exact amount of time, if not more, that the Faculty of Science spent helping you do that. The education you received at this institution spans beyond the scope of reading books and memorizing facts about the pathways involved in diabetes or all of Newton's laws. If education was solely about obtaining a grade, then we wouldn't take away the full experience available to us from McMaster. Instead, we all learned very simple, yet unforgettable skills in our time here. How to manage that time properly, how to properly write a resume and perform in an interview, how to think critically and approach situations with open-mindedness thanks to multiple group projects and the famous PBL approach, and how to be informed members of society by learning about all fields of science during our classes. While being involved in working towards the goals you set for yourself occupied your time, during all of this, you evolved as a person, learning more about yourself and other people than any textbook could ever teach you. This is what makes our education so great. You come in with an idea of what you want to do and who you want to be, and so you begin to work. You're working, studying, researching, sometimes crying, panicking, procrastinating, but also thinking, discussing, and learning, and notice that I'm not mentioning sleeping. And the next thing you know, you're sitting here, having just earned your degree. I'd be lying if I said it was easy. Getting to this point in our lives took a lot of work, and each in our own way. However, the caliber of the character you have now is exponentially greater than what it was when you first arrived here at McMaster, which now seems like such a long time ago. That's what makes time so interesting, but fickle. The longest moments of our life seem like only a second in the grand scheme of things, and sometimes, while we take for granted how much time we've had to do what we want, some don't get to have enough of it. So always remember that. The moment has finally come for us to celebrate our accomplishments and the 10,355 hours of work that we have put in here in the Faculty of Science. While I kid about many of the things that have happened in our university career, always remember that time is a privilege, and it is one that is refused to many. The only thing worse than growing old is not growing old, and so I hope you get to do it with all of the joys, trials, and tribulations that life throws at you along the way. So congratulations, McMaster Faculty of Science, Class of 2014. I wish you nothing less of success and all the time you need to obtain it. Thank you.
May I now call upon our President, Dr. Dean, to present the Distinguished University Professor.
From time to time, the Senate of McMaster University awards the title of Distinguished University Professor to exceptional individuals whose contributions in scholarship and education are truly outstanding. Only full-time members of the faculty are eligible, and there can be no more than 8 active Distinguished University Professors at any time. Madam Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate of McMaster University, I have the honor to present McMaster's newest Distinguished University Professor, Dr. Narayanaswamy Balakrishnan, or Bala, as he is known to his colleagues.
I got it wrong, Bala. You made it.
What do you know? A professor in our Department of Mathematics and Statistics, Dr. Balakrishnan is one of the world's most accomplished statisticians. Through his nearly 3 decades at McMaster, he has become our university's most cited researcher and one of the most cited statisticians ever, with more than 30,000 citations and counting. Approximately 40% of those have occurred in the last 5 years, reflecting the growing international interest in Dr. Balakrishnan's work. His research interests include order statistics, distribution theory, outliers, statistical inference, records, multivariate analysis, and industrial statistics. He is the author or co-author of more than 400 research papers and more than 20 books and handbooks. He has also edited more than 50 publications, including 16 volumes of the influential Encyclopedia of Statistical Sciences. He has also been editor-in-chief of the journals Communications in Statistics, Theory and Methods, and Communications in Statistics, Computation and Simulation. He is the past editor of the Journal of Statistical Planning and Inference. Dr. Balakrishnan has served as president of the International Indian Statistical Association and been a dedicated member of committees for NSERC, OGS, the International Indian Statistical Association, the American Statistical Association, and the Statistical Society of Canada. Dr. Balakrishnan, who is a 5-time winner of the MSU Teaching Award, has been honored by his peers as a Fellow of the American Statistical Association, an elected member of the International Statistical Institute, an elected honorary member of the Greek Statistical Institute, and a recipient of the Don Owen Award from the American Statistical Association. Congratulations, Dr. Balakrishnan. Thank you.
May I call upon the Dean of Science, Dr. Robert Baker, who will present the Governor General's Awards academic medals won by 2 graduates of the Faculty of Science and 2 other faculty awards.
Madam Chancellor, McMaster University has been granted 2 academic silver medals by the Governor General. This medal is awarded annually to the undergraduate student graduating with the highest academic standings. This year, Michael Birch is one of 2 recipients of the Governor General's Academic Medal. I ask that you and all those present join with me to express recognition of his achievement. The second recipient of the Governor General's Academic Medal is Sarah Elizabeth Drowan. I ask that you and all those present join with me to express recognition of her achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to present the Burke Memorial Ring for outstanding academic achievements and contributions to undergraduate activities in a Bachelor of Science program. I am pleased to announce that Sarah Elizabeth Rowan is also the winner of this award. I would now like to present the Binkley Medal for outstanding academic achievements in an honors program in computer science. It is with great pleasure that I announce that the winner is Wenwan Yang.
May I introduce Ms. Stephanie McClarty from the McMaster Alumni Association, who will now deliver the Alumni Association address.
Chancellor Labarge, President Dean, McMaster faculty, fellow alumni, honored guests, and members of the graduating class of 2014. As newly minted graduates, you may remember your final exam quite clearly. In fact, you may even recall some of the facts and figures you studied the night before, or maybe not. The only thing I remember after I finished my final exam was how light I felt. The obligations and responsibilities of my student years were done, and I actually took off to Thailand for 6 months. Then not too long after that, I realized I had also walked away from a life that I'd come to know. Friendships, relationships, locations, and routines that effectively had defined my life for 4 years. And even though I was in Thailand, I realized I wanted to reconnect with McMaster again, this time not as a student, but as an alumna. Some of you here today may never re-engage with your alma mater after Convocation, and that's okay. But to the vast majority of you, McMaster will continue to be a part of your lives, and the McMaster Alumni Association is here to help. We can help you stay connected with your friends and classmates, find opportunities for volunteering or philanthropy, and help you recapture that sense of community that has been so big in your life to date. We also put the McMaster family at work for you, for your post-graduation goals. The McMaster Alumni Association has created the multifaceted MAC-10 Young Alumni program specifically to meet the needs of alumni like you. With 4 different programming streams, there's something for everyone. MAC-10 Professional offers a year-round schedule of events and workshops, conducted both online and in person, to support alumni in your job search mode and alumni looking to progress in their careers. There's also MAC-10 Social for social events in Hamilton, Burlington, Toronto, and beyond, as well as MAC-10 Intellectual for informative continuing education style learning. And finally, and I wish this was around when I graduated, MAC-10 Giving, which builds on the social awareness that's such an important part of the McMaster student experience by providing interesting opportunities for community service and philanthropy. So somewhere in those 4 streams, you'll find something for you, whether it's accessing our alumni career coach, participating in job-finding boot camps, or taking part in the Job Search Essentials e-course. You might participate in events and activities based around social justice, mentorship for entrepreneurs, classical music, Days of service, movie nights, grad school prep, pottery classes, cooking events, canoe tours, and even golf lessons. And that's just our young alumni program. When you get a chance, visit alumni.mcmaster.ca. Watch your mailbox for the McMaster Times Alumni Magazine, or connect with us on one of the major social media portals. Or actually, you could just read the Alumni Convocation booklet that you received as you exited the stage. If you do, you'll find out what the family of more than 170,000 worldwide MAC alumni can do for you. So from casual users of our social media up to being the most highly engaged volunteer like our Chancellor, there is something and a place for all of you within the McMaster Alumni Association. So, to the class of 2014, we celebrate your success as students and toast the promises of your futures as alumni. Your fellow Mac grads are proud to welcome you to the McMaster Alumni Association family. Thank you.
May I invite Dr. Dean back to the podium to deliver the President's address.
Well, it's a great privilege to be able to say a few words here at the end of the ceremony today, to offer some last words of advice as you head out to pursue your lives and your careers beyond this point. I would observe you've heard some very helpful advice and thoughtful reflection from this podium today. And I have to say to Monica, who gave an absolutely superb valedictorian speech, I think she's a little hard on people who use tired old literary quotes on these occasions. There's a danger in embarrassing your president when you say things like that, especially one who's a literature prof. I've probably got a few tired old quotes, so I'll keep them in if you don't mind. There was much that we've heard from Dr. Archibald and from Monica that is important to be thinking about. Monica said something which in many ways maps on to what I wanted to say to you today when she said to you that time is a privilege, that the life we have is a very precious thing, and the use we make of it is extremely important. And I wanted to talk a bit about that. Dr. Archibald encouraged you towards the end of his talk to be bold. He said, if ever there was a time to make a difference, it is now. And I would say that there are many reasons to take that advice seriously, particularly as scientists. Scientists have something very important to contribute at this moment in our culture and its evolution. Now, predictably, since I'm a humanities prof, I'm going to pick up on Monica's point about what is important. Because what is essentially important goes beyond books, as she said, and facts. She said that what you acquired here is not just about grades. It's about other things. It's about social awareness, a sense of what it takes to be a contributing member of a community and a society. And I wanted to talk a bit about that and the relationship of society to facts and to numbers and things of that sort. All of this by way of saying to you to cherish your time. Like Dr. Archibald, I'm going to go back in history to April 1967, at more or less the midpoint in the Vietnam War. Martin Luther King Jr., a figure known to all of you, I'm sure, spoke at Riverside Church in New York City, outlining the need for what he called a radical revolution of values. This is what he said: "We must rapidly begin the shift from a thing-oriented society to a person-oriented society. When machines and computers, profit motives and property rights are considered more important than people, the giant triplets of racism, extreme materialism, and militarism are incapable of being conquered." One might add also to that the list of environmental damage. So if you fast forward nearly a quarter of a century to 1989, the Vietnam War is over, yet countless new conflicts are underway across the globe. Global inequities are undiminished. And an author whom I hope many of you have read, Bill McKibben, in a book called The End of Nature, drew attention to the ecological impact of our increasing orientation to things and our unprincipled embrace of the machine. And this assertion of human power through technology, he was later to identify paradoxically as evidence of our dehumanization as a species, of our failure to make the shift towards what King characterized as a person-oriented society. In McKibben's seventh book, published in 2003, entitled Enough, he offered advice to us all for staying human in an engineered age. That was his phrase. It's the subtitle of the book, Staying Human in an Engineered Age. How should we understand that last phrase, an engineered age? It's certainly not intended to disparage engineers or the work they do. But it is connected to the way in which that work and the work of technology and sometimes the work of scientists applied in the practical realm, where that is sometimes viewed not necessarily by engineers themselves. An engineered age, I take to be McKibben's term for an era intoxicated with technology for its own sake, or one built on an assumption that human progress and technological advance are congruent, if not one and the same thing. That is to say, the assumption that technology is a self-evident and self-justifying value. But more importantly, I think that phrase, engineered age, refers to an aspect of our culture which has roots very deep in the 18th and 19th centuries, in the Industrial Revolution. The economist Douglas Allen asserted recently that the Industrial Revolution effected a fundamental shift in our human institutions, away from those regulated by social values, human values, such as trust and custom, and towards a regime built around measurement and the removal of randomness in outcomes, a regime by extension hostile to much that we value in human society. Whatever good such a regime brought with it, it brought also that danger, that it would marginalize human concerns and human empathy as an ordering principle in our society. A colleague recently drew my attention to an amusing article in the New York Times under the title, "The United States of Metrics." The author, Bruce Feiler, explored our contemporary obsession with quantitative measurement. As an indication that things have probably gone too far, Feiler pointed to an app, which is probably accessible to all of you, called Spreadsheets. I'm not suggesting you get this, and you'll soon discover why. This app called Spreadsheets uses body sensors, accelerometers, and smartphone microphones to monitor almost every quantifiable detail of its owner's sexual activity. Although the developers of this deny that it was intended to be used for what they call creepy purposes, the assertion is that the information gleaned through this app, fed into a database in some mysterious location, can be rolled up into a comprehensive database documenting sexual practice across the United States. "We're awash in numbers," writes Feiler. "Data is everywhere, and old-fashioned things like words are in retreat. Numbers are on the rise. Unquantifiable arenas like history, literature, religion, and the arts are receding from public life. One might almost say human interaction is receding from public life in its importance, to be replaced by technology, statistics, science, and math." This is Feiler's assertion. "Even the most elemental form of communication, the story," he said, is being pushed aside by the list. And it is interesting to think, if you're users of Facebook, to think about the emphasis on lists and counting. One counts the number of friends, one counts the number of likes, and that is the means by which we communicate our values to one another. But ponder that app, spreadsheets. What's the point of it? Will vast aggregations of data about human sexuality ever capture the story of attraction, love, or lust as we experience it as human beings? If not, it's a legitimate question to ask, where does this process lead us? What is the point of this? What kind of knowledge will spreadsheets provide to us of perhaps the most profoundly human instinct? I think it is a good illustration that in some areas, and I hasten to say not all, but in some areas, numbers and a numbers-driven approach cannot tell the whole story. Now, McKibben asserts quite reasonably that if we're to retain or regain our humanity, the displacement of unruly nature by orderly lists cannot continue indefinitely. And that's the simple message of his book title, the one I quoted to you, Enough. And it restates remotely in time, and within a different complex of anxieties, the same message that we had from Martin Luther King about the dehumanization, the depersonalizing of society. McKibben is concerned to separate technology, which is a neutral thing, a good thing, potentially in its application, from a technocratic frame of mind. The first is good, the second dehumanizing in his view. And his complaint is not about technology per se, but about the use we make of it and the value framework within which we do that. The value framework is important. At the heart of what McKibben has to say about staying human in an age of numbers, an engineered age, is our capacity, indeed it is our obligation, to choose what technologies shall be embraced and what technologies shall be rejected, and to do so in accordance with values that strengthen rather than displace our humanity. It's imperative, in short, that humanity ultimately prevail over mere numbers. Now, as Bruce Feiler's article brought home to me, it is by no means certain that here in North America, in the second decade of the 21st century, we human beings are very good at knowing what we need and what is enriching to our humanity. If you're looking for wise words on the subject, you have to go to no less a person than Albert Einstein. It's Einstein who observed this: not everything that matters can be measured, and not everything that can be measured matters. Apparently, our culture has found this message about as difficult to assimilate as the mathematics of general relativity. I'm not going to go on about this issue. I hope you can see the drift that I'm concerned with here. I might point out that you can see in the universities, you see in government, you can see in business, a kind of a counter-movement beginning, a reassertion of the human dimension against this engineered age, which McKibben asserts we find ourselves in. There are business schools teaching courses in philosophy. In fact, the Wall Street Journal recently announced that in Britain, the philosophy department is invading the MBA program. This is a direct quote from the Wall Street Journal. That is to say, in seeking to find solutions to problems, people are coming to the realization that the answer is not always easily calculated on the basis of large amounts of data. When people like myself, however, look at the situation, we can sometimes be tempted to think that it is the humanities that have the answer to the problem, that we are where we are because technology and science and STEM disciplines have I suppose, taken the ascendant in our culture. But we do not, I'm speaking about people like myself in the humanities, we do not actually have the monopoly on wisdom on this matter. Because that which makes us human is not only that which can't be quantified. While the ability to work with words, images, and music is indeed a defining component of our humanity, is nevertheless only one component. What we do with numbers, what we build, what we do in the teeth of nature in trying to cure disease, all of this, from the creation of art to the hardest of the sciences, this is all intrinsic to our humanity, but it is all interdependent. In order to be human in an engineered age, we have to avoid false binaries. If McKibben is correct, and the love of technology and a technocratic mindset is carrying all of us and our planet towards disaster, I would be the first to admit that it would be a grave mistake to swing to the opposite extreme from the engineered position to a situation in which it is the arts entirely dominant. Both sides of this are required. Like all graduates, you're leaving the university with an education tilted slightly towards one or the other of these extremes. That is as it should be. The world needs highly specialized minds as well as broadly cultivated ones. It needs brilliant engineers as much as it needs gifted painters and writers. It needs astute business minds as much as it needs passionate social workers. And it needs science and technology of the best kind as much as it needs an ongoing critique of those things that is of the best kind and the most sophisticated. But whichever way your background, your temperament, your educational and career choices have made you lean, my parting advice to you, which is Monica's advice to you also, is to remember your humanity, to understand it as something not just there for your use. Your time here is a privilege. Your humanity is something you have to constantly negotiate, by which I mean there is a discussion you have to be part of about how we want to organize our world, how we need to partner with and understand each other, and our place in the physical universe. It may seem that the conduct of that discussion is the exclusive preserve of the philosophy department. But no, it must engage every one of us, every day, whether we're mathematicians, literary scholars, international development workers. Unless you're a part of that discussion, the answers to the big questions that confront humanity will forever elude you. So I'll end by inviting you to consider, in the days to come, the evidence that we live in a dehumanized age, to think about the manifestations of it that you see around you, and to remember as you leave this hall that you always have Bill McKibben's one word you can throw up in your defense: enough. In the pause there, ponder what role you would like to play, not only within the technical confines and the discourse of your area of study or where you choose to make your career, but in the full and glorious project of our shared humanity. And in that, my very best wishes go with you all.
Congratulations to the class of 2014. As a fellow McMaster alumna, I'm looking forward to seeing where you all go from here. Dr. Archibald, congratulations on your accomplishments. He's a wonderful example of a scientist who has used his knowledge and his educational base to advance research, public policy, and to develop and to deliver public services that we all appreciate. In addition, much to our delight, he's chosen to sponsor and support universities. And as I say, we are delighted to have him as one of us. As Ms. McClarty eloquently said, you are all now graduates and members of this wonderful group of alumni. Dr. Archibald was very eloquent in his talking about the community that you first came from, your family and close friends before you came to university, and the support and inspiration they provided you with. But all of you know that once you got here, that community broadened to include your fellow students. It's a much more diverse community, but I think all of you have realized, but again, the friendships and support that it provided to launch you even further on your way. You're now entering an even larger community, and you get to choose who and how you want to connect. And all we'd like to do is to remind you that perhaps the rest of the McMaster alumni can be part of that community. Dr. Dean, you've given us a lot to think about. And in some ways, graduates, he's thrown down a challenge to you as to where you as scientists fit in the broader world. And although his words should resonate with all of us because they are extremely important, it is you who can make a difference. You've got the skills, the knowledge, and most importantly, the time to make a difference. The society that we're going to have 20 years ago, that you and your children are going to live in, is going to be framed by the decisions you make about how science and humanities interact. So I would suggest that you take his wise words with you as you go. And congratulations, my best wishes to all of you. Now, just a housekeeping item. Flowers that have been delivered for graduates will be available at the coat check in the main lobby. And I would ask that you please remain standing at your seats until the academic procession and the graduates have left the hall. Finally, please join now in the singing of our national anthem. After the singing of the anthem, this convocation stands adjourned.